Good morning, students, staff, community members, and honored veterans. We'll begin our program with the Pledge of Allegiance. And following the Pledge of Allegiance, please remain standing as the 8th grade choir sings the Star Spangled Banner. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome our veterans and start by saying thank you. We have our freedom because of you. As I voted last week, I was reminded of our freedom. I couldn't help but think of those in other countries around the world that never had the opportunity to choose who their leaders will be. Where voting means waiting in line for countless hours. Where voting means risking their own lives by terrorist attack or other acts of violence against people that vote. Freedom is not free, and students, we can never take this freedom for granted. Far too many people have given their lives in World Wars I and II, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan, so we can be free. So thank you, veterans, for your service, and thank you for our freedom. I'm very excited and honored to introduce today's guest, Chaplain Rick Messer.
It's hard to see me behind this, right? All my short friends out here, can I get a witness on that? My name is Chaplain Messer. I'm with the 1st and 125th Field Artillery. We're located down in New Ulm. I've just returned from Kuwait. I'm a Gulf War veteran, second-time combat veteran with this last tour of duty, where our soldiers from the 34th Infantry Division were deployed and saw the operation of Iraqi freedom and all of that come to a close. And in December, we officially wrapped that mission up, and we were able to say, job well done, we're done with Iraq. And now all of our forces and all of our men and everything is looking towards one country, and which one is it? We all probably know it. Starts with an A, Afghanistan. That is where my son is currently deployed, Caleb Messer. Caleb, at one time, was up here on this stage, just like you, playing an instrument. He went to Howard Lake High School, and now he is serving with the Minnesota National Guard as an MP, doing his part out of love of country, because of duty, honor, and love of family. I want to share with you today what it means to be a veteran. We talk about Veterans Day. Yesterday we celebrated Veterans Day. Today it continues on because it occurred on a weekend. And today across America we pause specifically to honor veterans. This is much different than Memorial Day. Memorial Day is to honor the fallen, those who have died in service of their country. Today, we honor those living and dead, primarily living. And I want to encourage you, as you think about your freedom today, I want to ask you a question. How many of you were afraid to come to school today? That you even gave it a second thought? No one. Do you know why? Because when you walk through the door here, you're not walking on your way to school looking to see if a piece of brick has an unexploded ordnance underneath it. An IED, as we call it now. You're not worried or concerned about someone standing across the street with a cell phone, making a call to a bomb that will explode on your way to school. None of us even gave that a second thought today. Do you know why? It is because there are men and women wearing a uniform similar to this, serving your nation overseas, so that that doesn't come here again. Can it happen? It possibly could. But more than likely, it may not. And it's because you have people standing guard, walking the line, so that you can come to school here, and we can stand here in freedom of assembly. Isn't that awesome? We owe a great debt to our veterans. A great debt. If you see a veteran, you see a soldier walking around in uniform, you see these gentlemen here in their American Legion uniforms, take a moment out of your time to thank them for what they've done for you. Veterans Day began actually in 1918. It was first called Armistice Day. But then in 1954, something happened across America, and they decided that they would not just celebrate the end of World War I. They decided they would honor the veterans who had served in World War I, World War II, and the Korean War. But now it's even further than that. As we think about veterans, especially those who come to mind from World War II, and now in our day and age, we're talking more about the Vietnam veterans and now the Iraqi veterans and so forth. That title alone, veteran, brings to mind images of men and women serving as Marines, as sailors, airmen, soldiers, even in the Coast Guard. Where I was stationed at in Kuwait, I worked with all 5 branches of the military as a chaplain. I was one chaplain on an installation of 5,000 men and women. About the size of where this school is located, and 1 square block of Howard Lake, that's where we were at. If you would think of an egg yolk inside of an egg, that's about the size of our military base where we were at in Kuwait. And I got to work with a lot of fine women and men in the military. It brings to mind such words as duty and honor, country, selfless service and honor. And indeed, to be a veteran means all of those things, and yet it means something more. To be a veteran is the understanding that they have determined that something in their life is far greater than themselves. They look around at their nation and they see something different than just taking advantage of all the opportunities that we have here. They say, if it's necessary, we'll not just look beyond ourselves, we may even lay our life down for our family and for our friends. And for this grand republic we call America. Boys and girls, a lot of times people have a confused understanding of what you have here. We talk about democracy here, but please understand you live in a republic. It is a nation governed by the people, for the people. Don't take that for granted. One day, one of you may even be the President of the United States. You can go as far as you want to in America. Isn't it awesome? Why? Because you have been given that freedom because of the blood and the life and the sacrifice of many veterans who have gone before you to ensure that you have that freedom. Being a veteran means that we understand how precious and how short life can be, so that each day we live it as if it might be our last. We celebrate the love we have for our families and our friends. We treasure each moment with it. As I said, I was in Kuwait for a year. When I came back, it was like for myself being deployed, life was on pause. But do you know what happens? We might be pulled out of our life here, but yet life continues on. Life goes forward. And so we come back from a deployment and then we are injected back into life here. Normal life. But yet it's worth every minute. being a women, to realize that our freedoms are protected. President Dwight D. Eisenhower on October 8, 1954, he called upon all Americans to solemnly remember the sacrifices of those who fought so valiantly on the seas, in the air, on foreign shores to preserve our heritage of freedom. And he said, let us commit ourselves to the task of promoting an enduring peace so that their efforts shall not have been in vain. His plea echoes down to all of us today. Let us not take our freedom for granted. Let's remember what it means to be a veteran. Why should this day be important to you? Why should you pause out of your busy day and ask, what is it to be a veteran? Well, I want to bring to you some numbers, if I may. Right now, they're just statistics on a page, but for me, some of these numbers are very real because I've known some of these men and some of these women who have given their life in defense and freedom of our country. It's a very terrible thing to have to tell a family that their loved one has died in defense of their nation. But I will tell you, they have given it willingly. Today, there are more than 20,000 soldiers, Marines and sailors, airmen and Coast Guardsmen living in Minnesota and currently serving our nation. Did you know that over 400,000 veterans are in this state alone? 400,000. That's a lot of folks. That's a lot of people. Were you aware that these men and women truly represent less than 1% of our citizenship? We heard a lot about the 1%. How many of you heard about that? The 1%ers. If you want to really talk about the 1%ers, I'm in. This young man in uniform right there. What's your name?
Dan Barlow.
1% of American society willing to truly give it up for you. Were you aware that more than 25,000 Minnesota National Guard citizens, soldiers, and airmen have deployed since 9/11? Every time you see an Air Force jet coming out of Minneapolis, St. Paul, and flying over your house, every time you see that, please understand, they are not just training, they are on real-time missions. When they leave here and they go to Afghanistan, that's the real deal. So we have been at war 11 years, and we can almost kind of tune out a little bit because we are so caught up. We go to the mall and we just keep doing our thing, right? When you go next time, you pause and you think about why you can do that without fear. What does it mean to be a veteran? For many, it means witnessing the horror of war firsthand. You know, we talk about places such as Kosovo and Iraq and Afghanistan. When we talk about veterans, it means that they have gone to places such as Normandy and Bastogne. It means places like Bataan and Okinawa and Iwo Jima, the Chosin Reservoir in Korea, the jungles of Vietnam and Panama, the town of Khafji in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait. I think of Fallujah, and I think of Baghdad in Iraq, and I think of Afghanistan, where our men and women are still sacrificing every day. That's what it means to be a veteran. It means leaving home when all you want to do is stay. It means serving even when the cause or situation is unpopular, but you go because of duty and honor and country. The soldier doesn't have the choice to say, no, I'm not going to go. The soldier says, yes, sir, then I will leave. Being a veteran means that sometimes during their life, they have to recognize that they will not ask what their country can do for them, but they will do whatever their country asks of them to do. So today, as you think about what it means to be a veteran, I would ask you to pause and reflect. Reflect about your freedom. Reflect about your families that you enjoy. Take a moment and pray for them. Take a moment and pray for those who are overseas still, wanting to be home, but realizing they cannot come home until the mission is completed. Also remember this, that as of today, 18 Minnesota National Guard soldiers and more than 95 service members who call Minnesota home have died in combat since 9/11. They did so for you and me. I share that with you because it's a reminder to all of us of how very personal these 11 years have been since our military family and Minnesota family have been at war. As we gather today to remember, I would ask that you would also not let their sacrifices be in vain. The principal talked about voting. Do you realize that in Kentucky, one person lost the vote by a coin toss because someone did not vote? One person makes a difference. One day you'll be old enough to vote. Don't take that for granted. Vote. What does it mean to be a veteran? It means that we are always ready to defend this state and our great nation. So I ask for your continued support. I ask for your continued prayers, and that you would remember our Minnesota National Guard soldiers and airmen as they travel far and abroad to defend you and our freedom as Americans. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Chaplain Messer. At this time, I'd like to introduce Patty Campbell with the Women's Auxiliary Group, who will be presenting the middle school with the flag.
This flag, it will be flying in the middle school area, wherever you have your flag outside, and it's in memory of a veteran that he died for his country, and his name was Daniel Bodine. And he's very special because he is the brother of Jan Fitzpatrick, who I think all of you know. If you want to raise your hand, do you know Jan? And Dan's life was taken in 1968 in Vietnam. So this is a very special flag that we will be giving to the middle school. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, in honor of our veterans, the 8th grade choir will be performing God Bless the USA. coffees and great conversation. A special thank you to Rick Messer, and thank you to our veterans. At this time, we will honor those who have given their lives for our freedom with a moment of silence. Our program will conclude with Kaylee Ostrich playing taps. At this time, the 8th grade and choir can be dismissed to your second period class.